Hey folks, Jonathan here. Alright, it's been a while. I actually just posted a video of the move the Harris engine back up to the museum. That was a pretty big job moving that. Setting the other Hamilton up, the black one with the red footings or foundations. I was glad to get that done, and now we're back working on stuff that I want to work on. Well, I wanted to do that too, but I mean stuff that I wanted to do for myself. So I've been doing a lot of wrecks, as always, and wrecks never stop. But we have got the Hamilton engine on foundation. Poured the foundation last week, and got the engine set on. Still got a little work to do around the top of the flywheel pit. We're going to do some brick. I think I'm going to do some thin brick on the sides and make it like look like it's brick even though it's not. And I priced some thin brick, and which are 1/2 inch thick pieces, and they want more for one of them than I can buy a whole brick for. So I would rather buy a whole brick, set up a cutter, run through it twice, and get 2 off of it than I would to do that. Hold just a minute. So anyway, I've got some more work to do on bricking and on the brickwork, and I may use some bricks that I've got that's got names on them in a few spots. I might even brick this floor, I don't know, but we'll figure it out as we go. It's something we're just going to do it as we go. This engine I've got a little bit more leveling to do, but this thing was shaped like a banana. I was real surprised, but it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. And the front and the back, if you make them touch, the center don't touch, but that's okay because machinery grout is good for up to 6 inches, and that's 8,000 psi. So we just haven't done our grout yet because I'm not quite finished yet. I've got just a little bit more to do. We've got our outboard bearing on. I'm going to run it where it's at. I'm not going to move it in, even though it'd be nice to have it centered on that foundation, but that's okay. But the reason I've done that, I wanted the bearing out here at the end of the shaft, but I wanted this to be tied into the main flywheel pit. So if I would have set it out without doing that, I could have, I guess, went low with it, but I just wanted it like that. So I mean, it'll work out just fine. We've got a lot more bolts to put in, a lot more stuff to do. Governor, started working on it some. It's kind of neat because I found this governor came from a friend of mine. Had no idea, it just happened to bolt right on this engine. Found a serial number which would put this a little bit newer than my engine, but also found a 14 on it, which the 14 is going to mean 14-inch bore, which is what this engine was. So I think it's the exact right size governor, and you know, a couple hundred production numbers off on the serial number, but it fits and it's nice to have. We've just got to do some work on what's called a bevel gear, or what's actually called a miter gear. We've got to pick up another one or pick up 2 that match. Probably just get 2 that match and set it up, because we're going to go ahead and get the governor together and working on this one. We want to do the baits too. We just haven't had a chance to get it done yet. A lot of people think I shouldn't be running it before I do the governor, even though you don't have to have the governor to run it. But you know, yeah, it'd be nice to be complete, but you know, I'm doing this because I enjoy it. That's what I want. So I'm going to run them whenever I want to run them. And speaking of running them, tomorrow we're running. So we'll be back to work on this, try to get all the grout done, machinery grout, and we've got, so for parts to make for this, a friend of mine has the rod and the piston. He is part of the way through with that, but he actually broke his back in 4 or 5 places, and he's healed up enough. He's up and moving. I don't know how long it's going to take him to get on it. I'm not going to rush him. It's not a big deal. I've got plenty of other stuff to do. So whenever he's done, he's done. But until then, I'm not too worried about it. I know that the nut's ready. The jam nut, it was an odd size, like 2 3/8 by 6 pitch. It was some weird pitch, but anyway, couldn't find the nut for it, so he made one. That's done. He's just got to cut the threads on the rod, and then bore the piston and everything out for the rod. Now this was re-sleeved from a 14 to a 13, so which really don't matter, but we've got the rings and everything ready for this. I'll have to do a head gasket, but besides that, that's pretty much ready. This arm comes from here up, is missing on this engine. The one that we took and set up at the Williams estate had the right one on it, so I did get the measurements off of it, and that was real important. And let me see, the bearings that go inside here, well, they're not bearings, they're well, Babbitt bearing, I guess you could call it, but anyway, they were missing, and so I've got to make them. They got to have a 7-inch radius on them because of the crankshaft. I just ordered some Babbitt, so when the Babbitt gets here, I'm going to make them 2 pieces. We're going to use a 7-inch blade, and I'll show you. I'm going to try to videotape that, but we're going to try to do the radius on it and make the bearings and get them in there. They're just Babbitt on steel, is all they are. Flywheel seems to be working out really good. Cleaned it up. You know, this thing sit on the ground for years. I don't know how long it had been since it was together, but you know, these are fractured. So they pour these in one piece and then break them here and here. And as you can see, they go back together really well. I did a lot of wire brushing and cleaning on that to make sure that they fit back like they should. And that should work out fine. Yeah, I think everything else is pretty much good to go. Our pit come out good. A friend Wayne and subscriber from Florida come, and he dug most all of that by hand, believe it or not. He came and helped, and you know, we was messing around, and before you know it, he had the hole dug. So, and he liked to dig stuff level too, believe it or not. Unlike me from West Virginia, everything's downhill. So anyway, let's go look at the other project. We're going to fire tomorrow, so I probably will film some and put it on. I think everybody's seen the exhaust. Changed the exhaust up on this engine, ran it up over there, and got my stack here, and it goes over and works really well. Really liking that. What I've got here is we've got the log splitter hooked up to the Canadian engine, the Robb Armstrong. It's plumbed in, got oilers on it, got a hydrostatic lubricator or displacement lubricator. It's ready to go, and we are going to run this for the first time tomorrow. And as far as I know, it has not been ran in a lot of years. So we will see. We got exhaust on it. So pretty much done except for building the roof over it, coming off of that little building. And the way that this works, this is a pretty neat setup. You can see the oil level. So what it's got inside here, some of you may or may have not ever seen anything like this. This ring in here, hopefully you can see, I can't quite reach it, is loose. So this ring is actually bigger than the crankshaft, and it rings around the crankshaft as the crankshaft turns, but it picks up oil from underneath the crank and brings it to the top. And see if I can see the other one here. Yeah, you can easily see it down there, but let me see. Got a wrench here. Yeah, you can see it moving around. So it's just a ring that goes around the crank that picks up oil is all it does. Works really well. So, all right, we're going to run that tomorrow. Might even split a little bit of wood. All right, folks, following morning, we are here, and we've got a fire going in the boiler, and she's still blowing a little smoke. Now, once this thing gets good and hot, it'll completely go away, and it'll burn clean as can be. So we've got a fire in the bottom of the stack also. So this is what creates our draft, and it does a really good job, so where it is so far. Probably the hottest we've had this. All right, folks, we've got some water running through this thing, some steam running through it. Trying to get the cylinder heated up. And we've got a valve up in here a little bit. Let me close that a little bit. Just trying to keep the water condensation out of the line. Alright, so what we're going to do is keep running some we're trying to run some steam and water so that we get it nice and warm. Okay, so this engine here this is the one I bought from Maine. This came from Dauphinee Lumber. I think his grandfather had bought it. The original man that started the lumber company, and wanted to switch over to steam and then didn't do it. So they have not, as far as I know, ever ran this engine. And it has been in a building there for a long time. And they actually took the building down the day before Mike picked this thing up for me up in Maine. So this is going to be the first run, not only for me but for Dauphinee and anybody else that is familiar with the engine. But you can see I do have a drain on the bottom of that exhaust, so that's why it's leaking water down there. We don't want it blowing it out of the pipe when we turn it on. And it's so far so good. There was no gasket here, so I had to replace it. Like I said, we've got it all plumbed in. We've had the head off. We've had the valve off. This is a balanced valve engine, and I've got 3 valves open. I got the valve for the steam chest open. I got the valve for this end of the piston. I got the valve for the other end of the piston. And then were the actual valves that were on it when I got it. You can see one there and one here toward the front. So continue to leave them open, let this thing get the heat built through it, because you don't want to just turn it on and have steam running through a cold cylinder. So we're just getting it all heated up. I'm sure it's hot enough now, but it's going to be a little bit before we get the steam up where we want it. You see a little bit of leaks, but you know, as this thing gets hot and expands, we was leaking up here and we're not now, but as it expands, it'll seal a lot of that stuff up. You can see the gland leaking a little bit. I actually got the wrench that came with it, and this is for the gland. I've just got it stuck in that hole. And I probably ought to move it because it'll spin around there and get a hold of the flywheel, and we don't want that. But that's the wrench to go in there and tighten up the packing nut on the gland, what people call the stuffing box. Now, oilers, I'm not putting oil in. I've got to rebuild these oilers, but I took them all out. We've oiled everything up. We've got the crankcases full of oil. I showed that. And I think it's going to be a good runner. It's not stuck. We have rolled it over. We was actually able to roll it over by hand once we got everything cleaned up. So here it is. I mean, we could actually hit it now and fire it up, but we're going to wait because I want to run the boiler up to the 110 and do the pop-off valve. I've got to be careful and make sure that we don't have the valve open too far. We can actually adjust it on this valve up here too. We don't want it too far because we don't want it to take off running on its own when it gets too much pressure up. I'm just going to back it down a little bit. We'll continue to run some through it just to keep it hot. So, and we're so sure it's going to run that we've got it belted to the log splitter. So we're going to be running that at a really slow idle. This engine's going to be resting. It's not going to run hard anymore. I'm sure it done some hard running probably on a sawmill in Maine or in Canada for a lot of years. So. All right, we'll try her here in a few minutes. All right, folks, we're gonna fire this Robb Armstrong for the first time, and we have not fired it yet, so we'll see. All right. There we go. Go back and turn it. Got my fast. Is that both in it? No, I don't think so. But the head post is down stick. Alright. I'm going to do it this time. You ready? Yeah. Yeah, belt slivers are cool. Yeah, we'll make that. There you go. Look. All right, folks, it's almost 5 o'clock and we're finished up. Pressure's down, boiler's closed down, and we had a successful time with the splitter. We didn't split much wood or anything. We played around a little bit, but main thing was to get this engine running good, and it did run good. I really like it. Neat engine. They've done a good job building it, and I think I can see why they like to use them on sawmills. Seems like a really good balanced engine. Runs really smooth and really good. Hope I didn't over oil it. So anyway, you know, steam, when it leaves that boiler, its whole purpose in life, I believe, is to turn back into water. And sometimes you just got to live with it. Boy, that's a lot of water. But that's what we got drains for. So anyway, build a roof over this soon and see if we can get it over that pipe. Which I think we can. All right, appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, bye. Say bye.
Bye.